MBA, Dr. Talla ma'am, and HOD MCA, Shikha Dubey ma'am. All faculty members and all my dear friends, I, Aditya Shokzadav of MCA first year, extend my warm welcome to the session on problem solving and ideation workshop. Now I would like to request our own Dr. Meghna Villare ma'am to felicitate our guest speaker, Mr. Sachin. Thank you, ma'am. Now I take this opportunity to briefly introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Sachin Gambhojee sir. He did his post-graduation in pharmacy and MBA in HR marketing. He spent a few years in pharmaceutical industry working in technology transfer as he wanted to start something of his own. Then he pursued MBA to begin his entrepreneurial journey. He was part of Infosys Foundation's Global Business Foundation's skill program, which was a turning point to kickstart his own startup named OPEX, Operational Excellence in 2016. For his initiative to promote Make in India, he got recognition from the Prime Minister's office. Recently, he has received Gaurav Puraskar from Maharashtra's leading press, Media Sakar. With this bootstrap startup, he impacted more than 50,000 students and professionals for startup and skill development in last 5 years. Today, along with OPEX, he lead other ventures like Siri, Plan B, SIBIC, and Sakri. His vision is to solve India's unemployment crisis through balancing job creator and job seeker. It's a great pleasure to have you with us. So now the stage is all yours.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. And even to begin with the gratitude, I would like to thank all the participants, organizers. Yeah, am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I would like to thank everyone for having me here. And with this, I'll I guess I'm audible. Hello. Hello. Yes. Okay. 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 Perfect. Perfect. Now, this particular session would be more on ideation and problem solving, right? Now, to keep it more simple, I'll be briefing you around what exactly is problem solving all about. Where I would like to uh, brief you through many of the examples through which you can actually guess that particular essence of the problem solving. So what exactly is problem solving, or how we are using a terminology innovation, how exactly we can ideate for innovation, right? So innovation, problem solving, or even the problem statement, these are basically the initiatives or the initiation time points where before you actually start your own startup, you need to think around. So before I actually start my sharing my presentation, there are a few questions which I really want you to answer me on this. Maybe you can use chat box. So my first question would be that's the obvious, but my first question to all would be, how many of you have seen all the episodes of Shark Tank India? You can type as all, or you can type as few. I'm talking about Shark Tank India, all the episodes, season 1. You can mention in chat box either all episodes or few episodes, or no, it can be anything. Because I'm sharing, a few of the examples of few of the startups which have been, uh, displayed during this Shark Tank India. Yes, yes, audience. Let's make it more interactive so that you can grasp as much as possible, because I have, even PowerPoint presentation to share you, but I don't want to, to go through each and every slide, a one-way interaction. So how many of you have seen all the episodes of Shark Tank India? Few. Yes, 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 audience, audience. Yes, I'm expecting few more responses from your end.
Guys, please respond.
See, because I have this presentation and I can, go through all these slides of the presentation, but I don't want you to, have a one-way interaction, because startup is something which should encourage you, which should actually ignite you. And this is how we need to, get into all this stuff. Okay, okay. Okay, I'll brief you around a few of these startups. Okay. Now, say for example, I'll give you two different examples. Say for example, now I'm an innovator and I want to introduce, say, let's take an example of baby diapers. Let's talk about baby diapers. We have, market brands like Pampers and Huggies and everything. I want to introduce a new segment of baby diapers into the market, right? Now, to begin with this journey, first is innovation. Even before that, first one is problem statement. Okay. Now, the problem statement which I choose, considering whatever competitors I have, I choose is because of the huge industry which is into baby diapers, the waste which is being produced through this used diapers, it is huge. And I, as an innovator, I want to manage this waste. So what I'll be doing is, number one, listen carefully. Number one, my first approach will be creating baby diapers by using biodegradable material. So even when we use these baby diapers and throw it in dustbin, it will be automatically biodegradable within 10 to 15 days in the soil itself, so that we will not create huge waste. So that's my option number one, through which I can innovate a biodegradable material through which I can solve this pain point. So that's the pain point of the customer, right? Or pain point of the market. That's number one. Or number two is, rather than creating a biodegradable baby diapers or using biodegradable material, what if I can use a approach of reusable diapers, where I can even use cloth or the cloth diapers, right? If I introduce reusable diapers, then even through this particular approach as well, the pain point is getting solved, because no more waste will be created there, right? Now, for this particular market, now I have two solutions: either to go with a cloth diaper or to go with a biodegradable material, right? Now, it is very important to get the inputs from the customer. Now, who is the customer? Can you share who exactly is a customer here? You can use chat box. Who is a customer for this particular business or for this particular product? You can use a chat box. Who exactly is a customer? Yes. Okay. Coming to the point, ideation and problem solving for startups. Now I'll be, quickly taking you through different parts of this particular session. So number one, I'll be talking about three types of to be entrepreneurs. What are the different types of the entrepreneurs where you can bring down the ideas into a market. Number two, finding pain points of the customer. That's number two, how you can exactly find out the pain point of the customer. Number three, finding a solution for the problem. Number four, design thinking. That's the most important part of the ideation is basically design thinking approach. Then types of innovation and techniques of innovation. So in the next 40-50 minutes, I'll be share you all these pointers here. So number one, the thing or the example which I have shared you just now, for that, if I consider baby diapers as a product, then customer would be the parents who will be buying the baby diapers. No doubt the consumer will be the babies, right? So my option number one is to create a biodegradable or a diaper with by using biodegradable material. That's something which I innovate. And once I innovate, then I'll find out the right customer. Or the other approach is, I'll first find out the customer. I'll ask them what are their requirement. Uh, I can even take a survey from 100 parents, right? If you're those who are actually the existing customers of baby diapers, I'll directly ask them the questions, what is your pain point, right? So their pain point is not that waste is being created and we need to use a biodegradable material, something like that. Okay, their pain point is basically, it could be budget, right? So maybe every month my spending on baby diapers is 2000 bucks. So now I want to control on my budget, right? So can you create similar kind of product which is cost effective or which is cheaper? So that is the input which you receive from customer end, right? So understanding these things are very important. Maybe you are incredible innovator where you have innovated a biodegradable material for diapers, no doubt, exceptional, right? But is there a requirement of such kind of product in the market? No. The requirement is of cost effective product. The requirement is budget. The requirement is something where you can actually solve the similar kind of pain point with a lower cost, right? So here there are two approaches for innovation. Number one approach is, you first innovate and then find the right customer, which is usually we do when we are working on a lab scale, right? Where we innovate a product, maybe a component, maybe a product, maybe a process, and we assume that this is something which is going to change the entire business or change the entire market. That kind of assumption we carry, that मैंने ऐसे ऐसा कुछ तो बनाया है which will change the entire market, right? Which will change the entire value creation of all the entire society, right? So what we do normally is we innovate first and then find customer. But rather than this, we should focus on the approach second. That is, first find out the customer and then ask them the requirement, and accordingly you can innovate a product, right? So finding the customer and then innovating a product, this is what exactly we require. So this is the ideation process which I personally follow for all my three startups. I have followed the same, and that's nothing but lean startup methodology, right? So what exactly is lean startup methodology? So number one, reach to the market. Now when I say market, what kind of market? Shall I reach to hospitals? Is that my market? Shall I reach to restaurants? Shall I reach to hotels? Shall I reach to institutions, universities? Shall I reach to IT companies? Shall I reach to canteens? What exactly or where exactly I need to reach? So before that, you need to first understand what is your area of interest, right? Maybe you are someone who are or who is exceptional in finance and banking. So your area of interest is basically banking and insurance. So you have to reach to the only that market. You are someone who is excellent in machine learning. You are someone who is excellent in based on this, then you have to interact with your future customers, right? For example, if your market is agriculture, you have to, connect with the farmers, you have to connect with multiple vendors, which are, or even the agri-tech companies, which can be useful for B2B, right? So interact with future customers and then make a list of their real life pain points. So when a farmer is working on field, he is, surrounded by multiple problems. So there are some minor problems, there are some major problems, there are some critical problems. If your market is, say for example, restaurants, even all the restaurant holders right now, they are surrounded by multiple pain points. So again, there are some minor problem, major problem, and critical problems, right? So you have to collect, you have to just interact with them, right? So that you can get real time pain points or real time burning problems from the customer's end. These are your future customers, right? Now come back and then brainstorm with the team. Say for example, when you're meeting with, say, 100 parents for your baby diaper product, or when you're meeting to 100 farmers for one of your agriculture product, then you come back with the data, you come back with those problem statement, you sit with the team, and now segregate these 100 problem statements, right? Or whatever problem statements you receive, you segregate them, you segregate in this order, like what are those minor problems, what are those major problems, what are those critical problems, likewise. Or you can do one thing, you can classify all your pain points into 4 segments. Number one, find out, say for example, you have 100 pain points, 100 problem statements from the parents or farmers or whatever. Then first identify what are the problems which are most urgent and most important. Most urgent and most important. So mark those problem statements. Number two, your second preference would be to which are most urgent but not important. Most urgent but not important. Number three preference would be most important but not urgent. Most important but not urgent. And preference number four, not urgent, not important. So there might be some problems with your customer. Yes, they do have problems, but it does not have any kind of urgency. It does not have any kind of importance. They're managing. They are managing. See, understand one thing. If you are picking a problem statement from number four preference, that is not urgent and not important, what will happen? If you have, even if you create something to solve their minor problem, will they buy your product? Absolutely no. Why one should pay you if it is not solving their important and urgent problems? So, considering this, you have to focus on number one and number two. That is the problems which are more important and more urgent, and the problems which are more urgent and not important, kind of, right? Now, here you have to ideate a solution. Now, for example, you have picked few of the problem statements, then you have to ideate a solution. Your solution can be in form of product, it can be in the form of process, it can be in the form of even business model. Say, I'll give you an example of Paytm. Right? So Paytm is a startup, right? So Paytm is basically have solved your pain point, but they have not created any product, they have not created any process, they have actually reformed entire business model, right? They, whatever business model they have, it is completely different. Same is the case with Ola and Uber, same is the case with Oyo Rins, right? So their business model is completely different. So it may happen that to solve that pain point, you don't have to create, or you don't have to build a product, or you don't have to build a process. Maybe you can actually uh, build or create something with changing some business model. Once you're done with that, then you have to actually build that solution, a prototype or working model. Maybe if you want to build an application, then you have to actually build that working model, you have to actually build that prototype, right? Where you can actually through which you can solve the customer's pain point. Now, whatever working model you have with you, maybe a sketch, maybe any kind of prototype, you have to again revisit your customer, the one who have shared with you the problem statements. Ask them, hey, for your solution, for your problem statement, I have made this. Please use this and tell us the feedback. Tell us whether my product or whether my prototype is actually solving your problem or not. Also, ask him, how much will you pay you for this? Right? See, how we calculate pricing, or how we calculate the pricing of the product, it is absolutely based on the urgency and the need. Now, simply, I'll tell you the example of the sanitizers and mask. Right? It is not like before COVID or before pandemic, our retail pharmacy stores, they didn't have this mask and sanitizer. They were there in the market itself. But now, see, the urgency and the need of the product, your mask and sanitizers, it has been increased multifold. And that's why the market have been become huge. More and more numbers of player came, and automatically the pricing got changed. Right? Same is the case with your products like Nestle Maggie. They have family pack. Also, they have the Chotu pack as well. 5 rupees Chotu pack for all the hostel students, right? So it is based on the urgency, it is based on the need. So that is something where you have to get the inputs from customer. Then ask him to use that product. Whatever product you have built, whatever prototype you have built, ask them to use that product and then get the feedback and validation. It may happen that whatever product you have created, it is not solving their pain point. It may happen it is solving their pain point, but it is taking much time. It may happen that it is solving their problem statement, but it is not convenient or it is not handy. So he may give you some inputs like, say, this is a machine, but it is having a low battery backup. Say, this is a product, but I cannot handle this on regular basis. This is a product which is too heavy, kind of. So you have to get these feedbacks, you have to actually process that feedback, and then you have to build a perfect product. So this is basically an ideation process. And the book which I recommend you all is Lean Startup, right? So Lean Startup is basically a book through which you can actually learn the lean startup methodology. Right, now let's talk about what are the types of to be entrepreneurs. So probably today you are someone out of these three kinds of entrepreneurs, right? Number one, either you are from that category who comes with their own innovation. Today you may have your own innovation. So that's number one category. Number two is you come with some sector expertise. Say, for example, you have sector expertise from agriculture, you have sector expertise from say FMCG, or you have sector expertise from cosmetics. Likewise, you don't have any innovation, but you have that sector expertise, right? And number three, no innovation, no market expertise, but I have that urge of doing a business, right? So these are three different classes of to be entrepreneurs. For example, number one comes with their own innovation. You can see such kind of product or such kind of people who comes with their own innovation, right? uh, Number two comes with some sector expertise, as we have discussed, like enterprise technology or consumer services, healthcare technology, logistics, financial technology. Likewise, and number three comes only with the urge of business. But if you are someone which is from this particular category, you need to really take care of the other entities or other elements of your startup. Like, you should have sector specific knowledge, like you should have experience, you should have network, you should have team, funds, infrastructure, business management skills, technology skills. Maybe you are not a kind of innovator, or maybe you do not have sector expertise, but at least you should have all these essential elements for any startup. Now, how to ideate? So the problem here is how to find out the solution for problem. So this is basically a problem solving methodology which you can connect with design thinking approach, right? Many of the startups which you see from Silicon Valley, like Google, right, like even Tesla, like Airbnb, these are all the startups which have been incepted from Silicon Valley. The kind of efforts which we are taking today after 2020, similar kind of efforts have been taken by US some 20-30 years back. And that is why you can see more than 2 lakh startups are there from Silicon Valley. While talking about India, we have mere 60,000 startups, right? But still, India is right now a third largest ecosystem. So now how to find out a solution for the problem, right? So number one, if you have the problem statements of their customers, then how to resolve those problems, right? Number one, what important customer problem can you solve out of whatever problem statements you have? What important customer problem can you solve, right? Number two, how are you going to do it? Are you going to do it your own by using a product or process or business model? What exactly or how exactly you're actually going to do it? Number three, how many customers are there that are willing to buy from you? See, this is very important because if at all you don't have any, kind of judgment for how many customers would be there or something like that, you should not start with, right? See, for example, if you have taken a survey of 10 farmers or 10 parents, it may happen that these 10 are from your friends and family or relatives. No doubt they will, get a product from you, they will pay you and get the product. But you need to identify like-minded customers, and how many customer or what exactly your market size is, that you have to calculate. Why can you only provide this particular solution? So this is something which is related with competitors. Here the obvious question is, if you are not there to solve their problem statement, what else they have? Now whatever competition is there in the market, how these people are managing with their own solutions, what are their alternatives today, right? In similar kind of domain, do you have or does this market have any other competitors, even though it is not available today in existing market, but it may be possible that in future similar kind of competitor may come in the same business. Next, how can you defend against others, that is competitors advantage, right? What exactly is your USP? This is something which is related about your value proposition, right? Value proposition is all about what value it brings to the customer's life. See, when customer is paying you 10 rupees for your product or 1,000 rupees for your product, they are not buying that product, a physical product, they are actually buying the value which is being created through that product, right? So understanding value proposition is very important that you have to answer here. And how big is your idea, right? How big is your market? How big is your idea, right? If you're solving most urgent and most important customer pain point, then yes, your idea is big. If you're solving most urgent problem but which is not important, it may happen that it may be, absorbed in the market easily or not, maybe, may not be, right? But how big is your idea? It is based on how big is the customer size or market size. Moving on to next, which is nothing but design thinking. So design thinking, this is the, a rational or a foundation for design thinking, right? There are 5 different elements of design thinking which we need to understand, and this is, you have to do it during your initial step of the startup. Now, design thinking, the first element of design thinking is empathize. So now what do you mean by empathize? This relates exactly with empathy, right? So you may have heard of empathy and sympathy, right? I'm not talking about sympathy here, this is empathy, right? Empathy is basically when you experience yourself on as a customer, right? When you are there in his shoes, right? So when you meet and greet and interact with the farmers during that greet, you should experience, or you should, feel the similar kind of problem statements as that of the farmers. So unless and until you are in his place, you cannot understand the depth or the intensity of the problem. And that is why empathy is most important part here, right? Number two is define. Defining the most precise problem statement is very important. You should not be vague, right? He may give you a list of problems, he may give you hundreds of problems, but defining the right problem statements in right way is very important, that you can do it through this design thinking. Number three is ideate. So whatever problem statements you have from that future customer or from that user, you have to then drill down and ideate few of the solutions. It may happen that to solve one particular pain point, you may have alternative solutions. Just a minute.
So
Yes,
actually, I think you're on mute.
yes. So yeah, we were talking about ideate. So it may happen that one of the problem statement, it may have multiple alternatives. So we were talking about baby diapers. So based on the customer's input, you may have alternative solutions. So this is solution number one, this is solution number two, solution number three. For example, take an example of electric vehicles. Now the problem is with the battery backup and everything. The problem is associated with the charging stations, right? So these are the actual pain points of the customers. These are the actual pain points of the market, right? In order to solve these pain points, you may suggest solution number one, solution number two, solution number three, right? Ideating this, then based on that, you have to understand the feasibility, that all three solutions are feasible, but the cost, the pricing, the acceptance, the convenience, all these factors, they does matter here. It may happen that customer will like your idea number three, right? Your idea will not, idea number one or idea number two, they will work, or they are feasible, but customers won't, you know uh, actually accept those ideas. It may happen. So likewise, you have to decide solution alternative, and then you have to create a prototype, right? Now what exactly is prototype? So prototype is basically as like your working model, right? For example, if you are building an application, then you can build an, a clickable application, a demo type, so that you can present to your future customer and get his reviews, get the feedbacks, right? Then once you're done with the prototype, you have to test. Now, testing can be done with multiple sample size. Say initially, you can give it to 10 users. Give it to 10 users, they will test it, they will give you feedback. Modify that, again, give it to 100 users, ask them to test, get a feedback. Modify your product, again, give it to 300 people, and then again retest. So this is basically a reversible process. This is a completely continuously reversible process unless and until you get a perfect product, right? I'll give you a simple example, or a popular example in this. The Instagram which you are using is the perfect example of lean startup, and you can actually apply this or understand this design thinking mechanism with the example of Instagram, right? So when Instagram was being developed, you may or may not have seen the first version of Instagram. It was actually a photo sharing application, right? It was not like what kind of features you see today on Instagram. This is completely different, right? So version number one of Instagram was completely different, right? So they created that version number one, then they have given their prototype, they have given to the users tested it, and then they given their feedback that we don't want photo sharing application, we want something which is which can be interacted. Few customers or few users, they responded like, we need someone where we can, chat with the people, right? A few users, they suggested like how we have a status facility on WhatsApp, similar feature we want into Instagram as well. Few users, they shared like, we don't want just photo applications, we also want videos as well. So the reels came, right? So these are the multiple features which was introduced based on the input from the customer end. Now the next is customer problem statement. Now this is something, now this is basically a customer problem statement canvas which you can easily understand. Now whenever you are on market survey for when you try to create this problem statement data, or to in order to collect the problem statement from the users, this is basically the best way to get the complete data or complete inputs from your users end or from the future customers end, where number one is context. That is, when does the problem occur, right? You can pick any sector. I'm not talking about, this is especially for agri or food or restaurant kind of sector. This is applicable to every sector. Even it can be aviation sector, it can be any sector, telecom industry, right? So when does the problem occur? So that is something where you can get the clarity of the actual problem statement, right? Number two is, what is the root cause of the problem, right? It may happen that even that user, even that future customer, they know what exactly is root cause, right? You as an innovator, you have to drill down the problem statement so that you can get into the root cause. Because you pick any problem, even if you consider your own personal problems, it will be solved easily when you try to get into the root cause. Because unless and until we solve the root cause, problems will not solve. It is same applicable to our external world as well. The kind of things, the kind of products which we use, or the life cycle of the product, if we don't understand the root cause, then we will not be able to solve the problem, right? So the root cause of the problem you have to share in this particular part. Now then, next is alternatives. What do customers do now to fix the problem, right? Now here, exactly, customers right now. Now here we have to clear cut, take an advantage, like what do customers do now to fix the problem? How customers are managing today by using those alternatives, right? It may happen that today they do not have alternatives, but may be possible they are somewhere they are managing with their own problems, right? Then next is, who has the problem most often? So here you have to write down the customers. Now important thing to here is whether your customer and consumer are same, or your customer and consumer are different entities. Maybe I'll give you an example like Byju's, right? So Byju's, for Byju's, customer is different and consumer is different. Same is the case with diapers. Consumer is different, customer is different, right? So it may happen that whatever product you have a separate entity of customer and consumer is different, right? So who has the problem most often? Here you can write down consumers, and then you can write down customers, because customer is the one who is actually paying you. The next, emotional impact. How does the customer feel? His emotion you have to accompany here, right? What kind of emotion your product is actually bringing to his life, right? For example, if I'm using a petrol vehicle and I'm fed up with the prices of petrol, or the future scarcity of the petrol, or the maintenance of my bike, then that is basically my emotion. If you are giving me an electric vehicle, what kind of emotion you are actually creating through this particular solution, right? So this through this business transaction, actually You are giving me, not giving me a physical product, but you are actually giving me a value, right? So that value you can, actually, uh, that is something where you can count those emotions, right? What is the measurable impact, right? Whether that solution is tangible or not. What are the disadvantages of the alternatives? So this is how you have to map the customer problem statement through this canvas. Now, to conclude this entire presentation, guidelines for prototyping. So whenever you are want to build a prototype, then you have to build with the user in mind. You don't have to assume everything that customer may require this kind of feature, or customer may like this particular feature. Don't build your prototype based on the assumption. You need to get the inputs of the customer and accordingly build the product by user in the mind. Remember what you're testing for, right? What are your testing parameters? Why are you testing? If you're testing an application, are you testing it to just check user interface, UI, or are you checking user experience, UX, or are you checking designs? Are you checking internet speed? Are you checking graphics? Or are you checking whether at the end of the day the problem gets solved or not, right? So what are your testing parameters that you have to think? Then don't spend too much at the time of prototyping. See, that's the advantage of lean startup, right? So you don't have to spend much while building prototype. Many of the businesses, they build completely, they figure out everything and then they build a product. Once they build a product, then they launch in the market. Many of the times what happens is your startup may fail if, without any feedback or without design thinking process or without this lean startup methodology, if at all, only and only based on your assumption, if you build your product and bring into the market, you may fail. That And that is why, in order to save money, resource, and time, you have to spend a little bit for prototyping, just for testing, and then just start building. Because don't wait for anything, because timing is the most important part in the entire journey of the startup, right? During a survey which was made in Silicon Valley in presence of 100 startup founders, that magazine, the initiative of that survey, they asked a simple question to all the startup founders, all 100 startup founders: what is the secret for your successful startup? Now, option number one, a great idea. Number two, a great product. Number three, a great team. And number four, timing. 55% of these startup founders, they voted for timing, because timing is the most important part. And that is why you don't have to wait for a perfect product. See, Instagram, they didn't wait for perfect product. They gradually upgraded their product, and today you can see the rest of the things are they're history now, right? Same is the case with YouTube. When YouTube came in the market, then it was completely different. Their business model was completely different. It was version number one. Then slowly they upgraded, second version, third version. Now, after few versions, Google acquired YouTube, and then the features were completely different. Business model is different. So this is basically a continuous improvement process in your product. If you are waiting for your product to be perfect, then you may come late in the market. SpaceX. SpaceX first attempt, flop. Second, flop. Third, hit. And that is why whatever you have, you launch it, you bring it to the market, because as it is going to change the lives of the people. So this is just to summarize what we have seen in the entire design thinking process: a continuous loop of feedback, and last, the types of innovation, right? As far as innovation is concerned, you may have product innovation, you may have innovation in process, or you may have a business model innovation, right? In all three types of this innovation, you can build your own startup. For example, talking about product innovation, you can consider Tesla as an example, SpaceX as an example, right? For process innovation, you can consider any startup which is into process innovation and business model innovation, as we have discussed. I can give you an example of Paytm. Right. So Paytm is basically a business model innovation. Ola, Uber, these are business model innovations. Few examples like product innovation, solar power cold storage, where the entire cold storage is being operated through solar power, or waste oil to biodiesel converter. It is absolutely a product innovation. Process innovation, where Henry Ford's assembly line, world's first assembly line, it's a process innovation, right? Even Google offers their employees 20% free time so that they can enhance their creativity, right? So as a result, what Google received is Gmail, Google Maps, Google Talk, AdSense. These are their actual product which have been initiated from their own employees in their free time, right? AdSense, which is the last one, being responsible for almost 25% of Google's annual income, and AdSense was actually a part of their uh, office practices. One more example, our very own Chitale Bakarwadi. So Chitale's Bakarwadi, which is now being completely automated. So that is because of the process innovation. So process innovation is possible everywhere. And business model innovation, where you can consider Paytm, Uber, Airbnb, even Ola, Oyo rooms, right? So these are something where they have innovated a business model, right? So this was all about the types of innovation, right? Even in that case, cloud kitchen. So cloud kitchen is also a business model innovation. So last, to end up with this session, the most useful startup idea is one which you really love, because unless and until you love your idea, unless and until you have your passion for that particular area or that particular market or that particular kind of product, you cannot start a startup. So that's number one. Number two, that solves a problem that drives you mad. So you should be crazy enough to run behind that problem statement unless and until you get it resolved, right? So the culture of startup have become 24 by 7, where because of your craziness and because of your madness, you run behind that pain point unless and until it gets resolved. And last, that you can produce on a large scale. So you should not be on a smaller scale, where you need to see into, like, if today my idea is working, then how I can scale my idea for entire population like this, right? So these are some useful tips you can suggest, or suggestions which you can consider to begin with your own startup, right? So with this, I conclude this session, and whatever things we have discussed through this entire session, right from the beginning, the types of innovation, or even the design thinking approach, or problem statement, or how to actually make a list of problem statements and drill down these problem statements so that you can get a proper solution. So with this, I conclude this session, and once again, thankful to all the participants and organizers for having me here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. And now I would like students to ask question to sir. You can just put it in the chat box itself, or you can just unmute yourself and ask if there's anything. So please check the chat box.
Sure, sure. Just a minute. How do we think that our idea is good and we should move forward? Okay. As I said earlier, the core of your startup is only and only customer, the one who, which, see, your question is related with validation, how I can validate my startup idea, whether it is going to be a bigger idea or not. The better person to validate your idea will not be a mentor, will not be a consultant, will not be even your professor or mentor like me. It is only and only your customer who can tell you that whether this idea will work or not, right? Because the perspective which he have, you or we all cannot have, right? So that's why that empathize is very important. Idea validation can be done easily through customers only. How would we plan to achieve our goal? uh, for goal setting, I can share you a session which you can watch on YouTube as well. I'll just click here. Yes. Now for that goal setting, I have answered your question through this particular video. You can, once you are done with this session, you can just type means goal and end goals by Vishen Lakhani on YouTube. You will get a better understanding of means goal. See, you as a student, whatever things you want to achieve in your life, these are not your end goals. These are your means goals. And even in your startups, you need to differentiate between what exactly is means goals and end goals so that you can achieve your goal setting in a smart way, right? So that you can consider. How should I determine if I am capable to start a business? That is absolutely through whatever skill sets you have, whether you are capable enough or not. What exactly is capability? Capability is nothing but the skill sets which you have, right? So if you want to do a business in textile segment, then the question is, are you capable to handle a textile business? So the capability is nothing but the skill sets. Do you have those technical skill sets? Do you have those business management skill sets, right? If you have that skill sets, and if you know that you have these certain skills, then you should go ahead to begin with your own startup or business. Can we have the next question, please?
Now, I will take this opportunity to present a vote of thanks for today's session by Mr. Sachin Kambojja sir. Sometimes all you need is a little inspiration to keep rolling. And yes, I believe that the views shared by Sachin sir were very inspirational and motivational. Sachin sir, in his session, enlightened us on various points like how to reach the market and lean to startup methodology and how to ideate a solution and design thinking. I hope through this session, our students benefited a lot to achieve their dreams and to build their own business ideas. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us and nurturing us. I also extend my gratitude towards the Ministry of Education's Institutional Innovational Council for providing us an opportunity to organize this session. Our management believes to inculcate entrepreneurs skills in students so that they will encourage themselves to follow their dreams, treat others with kindness, and never give up in any situation. I thank our management director, Dr. Meghna Bilare ma'am, associate director Vishal Vadaskar sir, admin head Mrs. Manisha Pawar ma'am, HOD MBA Dr. Talla ma'am, HOD MCA Shikha ma'am, and all the faculty members for their continuous support throughout the session. Last but not least, I thank the students of MBA, MCA, and MBA Digital Marketing for being a patient audience. Once again, a big thank you to Sachin sir. And by this, we end our session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.